Japan doesn't do soft gods. Forget the gentle hand of heaven. Japanese folklore hands you a bowl of nightmares and says, eat. These aren't comforting deities that bless your harvest or pat you on the head. These are entities that whisper suicide, strip naked to save the sun, and wear the faces of livestock while gnawing on the damned. They're not holy, they're horrifying. So buckle up. Tonight we're diving into 5 of the most disturbing deities ever spat out of Japanese myth. And by the end, you might wish the cave stayed dark. Izanami. Izanami is the primordial goddess of creation and death, the mother of Japan's islands, who became the rotting queen of the underworld. You'd think if you create a country out of divine sweat and passion, you'd get a happy ending. Not Izanami. She and her partner, Izanagi, birthed the Japanese islands. Literal landmasses were their children. They had kami after kami, shaping the natural world. But creation is a messy thing. Fire was born, and in birthing it, Izanami was burned alive. Imagine it. The divine womb turned crematorium. Her husband couldn't handle it. Izanagi, desperate and grief-sick, storms into Yomi, the land of the dead, to get her back. Romantic, right? Except he finds her corpse rotting in the shadows, crawling with maggots, her beauty collapsed into horror. She begs him not to look at her. Not yet. But he lights a torch, and there she is, a goddess decomposing into nightmare fuel. Here's where she twists from tragic to terrifying. Humiliated by being seen, Izanami doesn't return meekly to the living. She turns vengeful. She chases Izanagi, sends death spirits after him, and when he escapes, she screams the curse that defines her forever. She will kill 1,000 people every single day. That's not metaphor. That's the goddess of death announcing that daily mortality is her eternal revenge. And Izanagi, in an act of divine pettiness that still feels like a Twitter clapback, replies, "Fine, then I'll make 1,500 people be born every day." And that's why humans live, breed, and die like they do, caught in the eternal divorce spat between 2 gods. Izanami destroys you with inevitability. She's not a ghost you exorcise. She's not a demon you can ward off. She's death institutionalized, weaponized as vengeance. She loved, she burned, she rotted, and she cursed us all. Every obituary is her keeping score. Akaname. Akaname is a yokai deity of filth, a grotesque creature said to lurk in bathrooms and lick away the scum of neglect. Yes, you heard me. A god of bathroom grime. And you might laugh now, but think about it. Isn't that somehow worse than a thunder god or a plague god? At least those are grand, dramatic. Akaname doesn't command storms. It crouches in the dark corners of your most private space, reminding you of your filth. Picture it, a hunched, gangly thing with slimy hair, frog legs, and a tongue long enough to mop the floor. It doesn't kill you. It doesn't even touch you. It licks your dirt. That's it. And that is somehow so much worse, because if your bathroom is clean, Akaname doesn't show. It only appears when you've let things rot, when the mildew, the scum, the black mold of your negligence takes root. The god doesn't punish through thunderbolts or curses. It punishes through presence, through the simple fact of being there. What could be more psychologically horrifying than a creature that thrives on the proof of your laziness? Akaname is divine guilt with a tongue. It's the whisper in your head when you don't scrub the tub. It's the embodiment of shame. An entity that only exists because you failed. And let's be honest, everyone has that one night. You stumble into the bathroom, half drunk, don't turn on the light. Something moves. The tiles are wet. And your brain, the primal part that never evolved out of caves, screams that something is licking in the dark. Akaname turns the ordinary into nightmare. Mildew becomes evidence. Dirt becomes bait. Your home becomes a shrine of neglect. The joke of Akaname is that it doesn't kill you, but living with the knowledge of it, living with the image of a frog-legged demon tongue-polishing your porcelain throne, that is death, one psychological shiver at a time. Akaname isn't thunder, it isn't blood, it's worse. It's your own filth worshipped by something hungry enough to crawl into your house to taste it. Shinigami. Shinigami are death gods in Japanese folklore, spirits that whisper people into killing themselves or slipping quietly into the grave. And no, these aren't your cool, edgy anime mascots with spiky hair and an apple fetish. The folkloric Shinigami are worse, because they're vague, they're undefined. They're not one face or one god you can pin down. They're a creeping category of death urge incarnate. Imagine waking up and feeling the unexplainable, seductive tug to wander to a river, to a cliff, to a rope. That's them. They don't claw you, they don't scream. They just whisper in the way your own brain does when you're at your weakest. Folklore describes them as parasites of despair. Some say they ride on people's shoulders until their victim walks themselves into death. Some say they infest certain roads, so anyone passing by at night gets infected with suicidal thoughts. Imagine that. A deity that doesn't rule the skies or the seas, but squats inside the folds of your mental health, waiting for you to crack. What makes Shinigami unbearable is how plausible they feel. Everyone knows the voice in your head that says, "What if you just stopped?" Japanese folklore externalized that voice, gave it a name, made it a being. And somehow that makes it worse, because if despair is just you, then maybe you can fight it. But if despair is an immortal death god, what chance do you have? No thunderbolts, no drama, just the quiet drip of poisoned thoughts. Just a god who doesn't kill you but makes you kill yourself. And honestly, what's scarier than that? Gozu. Gozu, or Oxhead, is a monstrous underworld guardian with the face of a cow and the appetite of a famine. You think cows are gentle pastoral creatures? Japan says, no. Strap a horned skull onto a demon's shoulders, let it loose in hell, and give it the name Gozu. He's usually paired with Mezu, horseface, which already sounds like a yokai buddy cop show, except instead of solving crimes, they drag screaming souls deeper into hell. But Gozu is the star here. Picture him. Bovine face, gaping teeth, muscle-bound body, wielding iron weapons, and an expression like he's been chewing on suffering for centuries and still hasn't had enough. In Buddhist folklore, Gozu is a jailer, punishing the dead in Jigoku, the Japanese hell. He doesn't just guard, he torments. His presence is enough to paralyze. And in some twisted versions of modern urban legend, just saying his name aloud summons him to devour you alive. And let's linger on that face. The ox, in human life, is a symbol of labor, of agriculture, of docile power. Flip it into hell and you get the exact opposite. The worker beast turned predator, the tool of life turned into a weapon of death. There's something psychologically revolting about seeing an animal associated with calm fields and sacred shrines suddenly weaponized into carnage. It's like finding out the cow from the milk carton wants to eat you. But what really seals Gozu's horror is how he lingers between myth and meme. Old Buddhist texts have him tormenting the sinful dead. Modern creepypastas say his name spreads like a curse. The god of oxen turned devourer, the guardian turned hunter. He's a divine contradiction, both orderly and chaotic, both guardian and executioner. Gozu doesn't need elegance. He's a cow's face looming over you in the pitch dark, a snort of hot breath in hell's silence. A god who looks like livestock but punishes like apocalypse. And maybe that's why he works. Because he's stupidly simple. A cow-headed thing that exists to make you scream. You don't need lore when the face itself makes you want to claw your eyes out. Ame no Uzume. Ame no Uzume is the Shinto goddess of dawn, revelry, and madness, who once saved the world with a striptease and might terrify you more than death itself. Here's the thing. Terror doesn't always wear a skull. Sometimes it laughs too loudly, dances too wildly, and looks you in the eye with the kind of mania that says, "You'll follow me into the dark whether you want to or not." Ame no Uzume is that chaos incarnate. The story begins with Amaterasu, the sun goddess, sulking. She hides herself in a cave after a family spat, and the world goes dark. Crops fail, demons rise, everyone panics. The solution? Ame no Uzume shows up and says, "Fine, I'll get her out." And how does she do it? With a divine performance that looks more like a fever dream than a rescue mission. She climbs on a tub, tears off her clothes, and begins to laugh, scream, and stomp like a lunatic. The other gods roar with laughter, banging drums, creating such a ruckus that Amaterasu peeks out, curious. Boom, the sun returns. World saved. Now, on paper that sounds fun, even heroic. But peel back the layers. What we're talking about is the raw, unfiltered power of frenzy. The Dawn Goddess doesn't persuade Amaterasu with kindness, nor does she threaten with violence. She weaponizes humiliation. She drags the cosmos back into balance through hysteria, chaos, exposure. That's horrifying, because it suggests that underneath all order and light, the universe still bows to madness. And she isn't just a funny goddess. Ame no Uzume represents the volatility of joy, the knife edge of ecstasy that borders on insanity. Ever been at a party where the laughter gets too loud, where dancing stops being celebratory and starts feeling like possession? That's Ame no Uzume's domain. She is both comedy and cosmic terror, the knowledge that the world might just be held together by one mad woman screaming into the void. Imagine if your god wasn't the fatherly protector, nor the death-bringer, but the unpredictable drunk aunt who can either make you laugh until sunrise or drag the whole family into oblivion. Ame no Uzume is divine mania. The universe didn't restart because of law or reason. It restarted because one goddess went feral. That's the fear, not death, not punishment, but the idea that existence is balanced on the wild mood swings of a laughing god who just might decide, next time, not to save the world, just to burn it down and dance. And there you have it, gods that don't just rule, they unsettle, terrify, and remind us that the divine doesn't owe us kindness. These stories aren't warnings, they're truths dressed up in horror. That chaos, death, hunger, and madness are just as sacred as life and light. You don't pray to them because they love you. You pray because they might notice you if you don't. If your brain isn't already crawling with Shinigami whispers, hit that like button, subscribe so the algorithm doesn't throw you to Gozu, and drop a comment. Tell me which of these deities disturbed you the most, or if there's another nightmare god you want me to cover. Worship through engagement, people. That's the only religion YouTube understands.